I did select the right thing, right? It says excellent connection. There it goes. Good start, good start. And yep, there's it going live. Excellent. I wonder how much of that went through. Either way, greetings everyone. I am Dr. J. It's been a while. It has been a long while, in fact, as far as this channel is concerned. And yeah, it is, well, every 6 months I like to try and just take stock as to how things have been going and where things are, what you can expect going forward. And, well, in theory I was supposed to have a video out before this, but, well, we'll go ahead and talk about that real quick, explain where exactly I've been, what I've been up to, what I've been working on, and in order to ensure that you're not just staring at a blank screen for the entirety, I dug out the hardcore Ember Mage I've been working on. Haven't touched it all that much since the last one because, well, I'll have plenty of reasons to explain why on that count, but either way, here we are. So, let's go ahead and let me pull up something real quick, and alright, there we are. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get started. So, where exactly have I been? Because that is the ultimate question, isn't it? Because if you check the community tab, I post monthly updates there, just keeping a pace of what exactly's been worked on in the moment, and I keep hyping up this Pillars of Eternity video that ends up never coming out. You'd think I were making a video, well, you'd think I were Chris Roberts making a video game or something. Oh man, Star Citizen's never coming out, get over it, guys. But independent of that, you'd think, okay, so am I just hyping up something that's never going to happen? What's going on here? Why is it taking so long? Where the hell have you been? Yeah, and good questions to ask. So the short version is, well, it's pretty much the same answer as the prior stream, depending on, I'm trying to remember exactly what I said, since that it has been quite the busy half a year. But if memory serves, I had an idea as to when I wanted it to be done, but I don't remember if I ever gave a strict timetable. I'm pretty sure I had said start of the year I was going to make it priority 1 and wouldn't post anything until it was done, which, well, I'm going to have to end up reneging on that, unfortunately. But what it boiled down to is that I ended up taking what I knew would be the long route. I didn't expect it to be as long a route as it ended up being. So the short version there is that, independent of what I'm doing for YouTube, I want to eventually be at a point where I can make video games myself. Because as much fun as I have just playing them, talking about them, finding ways to overanalyze it, I do want to eventually start making them. I've got a couple ideas in mind that I think would work really well, but the problem is that, well, if you're trying to get into video game development, well, don't quit your day job, first of all. I'm definitely not quitting my day job. I got an effective promotion recently, too, so I'm definitely going to be there a while. But what it boils down to is that you can either go to one of the major studios and get burned out within 2 years and never want to touch another video game because they just run right over you because there's 1,000,005 people who are all vying for that position, so you end up in, oh god, I need to be mindful how much damage I'm taking. You end up in a situation where there's so many people vying for the big positions, so working for companies like EA or, well, probably not Activision as much now, but working for the big studios, stuff that's highly reputable, and then the problem is that because everyone wants in, you get paid crap. I'm probably making more as a QA person, well, doing software QA, than some game developers are as actual developers. That's how bad it is. Although, to be fair, I have been in the industry for a while, but even experience-wise, even if that were even, I suspect that would still hold true. So because of that, I'm sat there going, okay, so I can't go with that option, especially since because I actually do want to like the hobby while still making games and whatnot. So my thought was, okay, the option then is you gotta go indie. The problem is you then run the risk of being ignored by everyone else and have to wear many hats, especially if you're doing a solo project. So what it boiled down to there is that if I want to effectively do that, I want to, even if I end up hiring someone to assist with artwork, I want to at least be able to get concept art down in order to say, even if I'm not very good at 3D modeling or something to that extent, I want to be able to at least say, okay, this is what I have in mind. This is what I'm looking for, generally speaking. I want to be able to help with that process to ensure whatever I have in mind ends up looking the way I would hope. And that would be the benefit of working with somebody else, is that someone with a better trained eye could help with that. The problem is that I'm not in a position where I can hire somebody on, because I'm still very much, well, I don't know if low-level employee with where I'm at is necessarily the right call. I did get an effective promotion recently, but at the same time, I don't want it to reach a point where, no, I'm not in a position where I can necessarily do that as much as of right now. So my thought was, okay, learn how to draw. And in my mind, with YouTube being right there, it seemed like a perfect opportunity. It would be cheaper to hire someone to do drawings, so where I can have an avatar and utilize that for future videos. But I thought it made more sense for me to draw it myself, because in the process I'll learn quite a bit, gain an appreciation for it, even if it ends up not being the most ideal or the greatest artwork ever. I thought it would work pretty well. The problem is that because I'm still very new to this, what would take an experienced artist probably a few days is taking me a hell of a lot longer than that, because I'm having to learn a lot about the equipment I'm using with the drawing tablet I purchased, having to learn a fair amount about just all of the little tricks that go into it, having to figure out, okay, how do I actually make hands look good? Oh god. It's been rough. But speaking of rough, run away. I'm going to be running away a lot. This is where a lot of my hardcore Ember Mages go to die. I have not gotten one out of Act 3, so I'm going to be sort of distracted by this, so we'll see how much it ends up hurting me. So because of all that, it would have been easier to just commission someone to do it, but I wanted the experience of doing it myself so I could have a better appreciation for it. Problem is, well, it takes a while, and because of how green I am to something like this, I sorely underestimated the amount of work involved. And that is completely on me. The complete lack of content on this channel is completely my fault. I can complain about other circumstances, and to be fair, there is some good news bundled in with those circumstances, but at the same time, it is my fault for setting expectations where even if I didn't necessarily realize I couldn't realistically meet them, that is still on me for setting the expectations. There's a reason why a lot of people won't even put up updates like this. They'll just saying, I'm working on something, it'll be there when it's ready. Because sometimes you just have a situation where, you don't necessarily want to say everything, because then people can't necessarily then get on your back for not being able to hold to that. So it is not without reason that people will act like that sometimes. Will keep their cards close to their chest. Independent of that, though, well, I've gotten into the habit of it anyway, and I'm a small channel that doesn't post very often, so I try and strike a middle ground with these, but, well, it doesn't always work in cases like this. And unfortunately, to further throw a wrench in the gears, it's not as if there's been no work done on the Pillars of Eternity video. I'm thinking at least to try and ensure that things don't get too bogged down within the monthly channel updates. I'll probably just post rough percentages of how much of the drawing components concluded, because if it weren't for that, the video would be out by now. Because, heck, run away. Because the drawing component at this point is the only thing left on the Pillars of Eternity video. Well, that and the polish phase, where I go through with a fine-tooth comb and say, okay, are there any major editing mistakes that have lingered? Is there anything important that needs to be hashed out there? So figuring out those small editing mistakes and the drawing component is those two steps are the only ones left. So in theory, it could have been out months ago, but because I'm trying to make a big deal out of this with how well CRPGs have traditionally done on this channel, specifically the Infinity Engine games, I wanted to make a big deal out of it. So, especially since it'll help me when I'm finally able to talk about Baldur's Gate 3 when that comes out later. More on that in a moment. So, that is on me, and unfortunately, well, I think I hit the point where I realized, okay, I've finished the video and audio component and don't have as much progress as I'd like on the drawing component. I think I hit that point around March and realized that there were going to be problems, and what it boiled down to is that because I just had sorely underestimated how long it would take, I also just hadn't been working on it as much as I should have been, relatively speaking. So because of that, well, it's just compounding factors. And then I'm trying to also work on other long-term projects like the Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes video. So spending a small bit of time on that could have been directed at drawing. And then, on top of that, trying not to die real quick. Let's take you out. Excellent. Okay, that should work. And so I don't have to deal with you guys. Take that. Alright, cool. Let's move on. So, on top of that, trying to work on that, and the main game I was playing at the time was Fire Emblem Engage, and I realized, oh crap, I've got a lot to say on this because of how much they messed up the story. Oh god. Oh no, this is turning into a long-term project too. Oh no. Please no. I don't want... Well, okay, I do want this, but... I ended up splitting my time between 3 video games, all of which ended up being thrown into all of which either started as or ended up thrown into long-term project territory. Grievous miscalculation is an understatement. But, all that to say, that is the situation at hand. That is sadly how things turned out. So, I can complain about it, or I can just move on and try and make the most of the situation. So, that is the plan. That is how things ended up shaking out. So, as of right now, for those 3 tasks, Fire Emblem Engage is being put on the back burner. Because at this point, it seems that a lot of the oxygen in the room has been stolen from that game, especially with Tears of the Kingdom having released. Especially since, because of the lackluster story, it ended up not sitting in the normie crowd's mind as much. So, there's not much of a rush to do the Fire Emblem Engage video. So, and honestly, I find Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes to be a more interesting subject anyway. So, Engage is being thrown to the back burner. I'll make sure to at least finish playing through the game on the hardest difficulty mode and making sure to check out some of the supports and whatnot, but otherwise that's being put on the back burner. For a long time. It'll be a passive thing I look at occasionally perhaps, but nothing too major. Oh, okay, gonna be a serious one. Alright, take that. Alright, we're good. There we go. Oh! I heard that howl and I knew there was a cursed weapon in there, and I knew... I've had a cursed weapon just straight up take me out, and there's 3 of them. Great. Alright, that should be good enough. So that's one topic. And then the Warriors 3 Hopes video, I'll probably still cordon off small bits of time here and there. I haven't worked on it much recently. Right now I'm just working on reviewing the script notes. Well, just reviewing the footage I have of the 2 routes I need to make script adjustments to. So at this point, it is getting there. It's just still going to be very late into the future. Probably not something we'll see this year. So my objective then is, well, I'm not going to say when I hope to be finished with the Pillars of Eternity video. I will only say that I do have a time in mind, but instead of posting that time, I will just post whenever I make, well, whenever there's, well, I'll just post whatever percentage done the drawing component is, and that'll be that. Keep it nice and simple. And that'll probably be the only updates that... Oh god, that's a lot of damage. Welcome to Ember Mage. Everything kills you, and you kill everything quickly. Maybe I should have gone Prismatic Bolt Ember Mage, but it's not the most... It's not the most invigorating build to just hold down the right mouse button and occasionally hit 1 to Frost Phase away. Either way, me getting distracted by the game aside. So, with those in mind, what exactly do I have planned going forward, and what's this supposedly good news that I have to mention? Hang on, is that everything? Oh right, Outlander only. That's fine. It has been a while since I looked at this, so I have to do a double take here and there. So, what exactly is the good news then? Well, to some extent it's not entirely my fault. I mean, I said it was completely my fault, and as far as prioritization and knowing when to, well, not knowing when to keep my mouth shut about when exactly I'm planning stuff, that is on me. But there has been a bit of extra busyness thrown in that I'm still grappling with a little bit, and that is the fact that, well, I am now the official owner of a mortgage. Well, that's the cheeky way a friend put it anyway, but oh wow, that was a little... Oh crap, I clicked out of the window! Oh, no, okay. Okay, no, I did not need that stress in my life. Okay, you are all gonna die, thank you. Maybe I should have put this game into full screen if I were that concerned about it. But, yeah, I bought a house. I now have a completely different setup where the acoustics are all messed up because I need to adjust them again. And that's been the fun part, it's just... all the little things you take for granted when you're trying to move. About, oh, wait a minute, I have to worry about, well, I have to worry about some of my stuff being in one location and not another. And honestly, the house hunt itself was silly. I got real damn close to closing on one, but then something ended up happening at the 11th hour, literally, well, not literally the 11th hour, but really close to the end, where it turns out, hang on a minute, there's an issue here with proving a clean chain of ownership. I mean, we can still go through with it, but the seller has to be willing to let the money sit there for a year so that any unpaid credit card bills we don't know about don't fall on the buyer. And, yeah, he wasn't willing to put up with that, so, yeah, I have to back away. So, ended up getting real close, would have moved in properly at some point, I think March or April, but then this happened. So, only yesterday did the big move happen. And unfortunately for me, I've still got quite a few adjustments to make because the place I got isn't that much of a fixer-upper. The fundamentals are there, such as good foundation, relatively new roof, water heater, HVAC, that sort of thing. It's not as if I have to fix up everything, but there's a lot of little things that I can see to, such as, well, dents in the wall and all sorts of stuff like that. And there are some electrical issues that need to be seen too, and that's being taken care of Monday. Well, tomorrow, basically. But it's going to be a lot of small things that are going to be continuing to occupy my time. But the nice thing about it is that now that I have this own setup, I have a lot more freedom in how I set up. Because now I can have a proper distinction between my office, i.e. where my personal computer is, and where my bed is, which is nice. It's not something that I needed, but it's just nice to have. Although, I'm tempted to put the bed in here anyway, because the problem with the current room I'm in right now is that the acoustics are all sorts of whack. Typically, I've got two microphones that I use. One of them is a condenser that I'll use for live streaming, and a condenser microphone is one that will effectively get the entire acoustics for a room. Every keyboard click, every bump in the wall, well, every bump against the wall, every knock on wood, pretty much anything. And what's nice about it is that when using that condenser, I can lean back in my chair and be just fine and dandy. I'll still be heard, so for streaming, it's excellent. Not so great for recording because the acoustics can throw things off a little bit, especially if you have to move furniture around a little bit, and maybe that'll help once everything's in its proper place. Maybe I should put because I do have a corner of this office that I'm not using for much. I don't know, maybe I put a cat tower there so the cats I have can just hang out there. I wonder where Cheeto's hiding, actually. Because I haven't seen him since, well, he pestered me a lot when I was trying to sleep, but apart from that, I haven't seen much from him. Either way, putting that aside, he's still adjusting too, to be fair, and there's a lot to explore down in the basement. Either way, putting that aside, the acoustics in in the room back at my apartment were great for streaming. I didn't have to mess with them all that much. Problem is right now, if I were using my condenser, there would be a lot, and I mean a lot of echo. And as a result, I'm having to use my dynamic, which requires me to be effectively right next to the microphone in order to be properly heard. So I have to keep a very specific posture, and it is the microphone that I use for recording, so it's not as if I don't know how to use it or use it comfortably. It's just a matter of, it's right there, and I don't have the opportunity to just lean back in my chair. It does force me to be alert, though, so I don't know. Maybe it ends up working well in the long term, but I don't know. Might be worth looking at the stream I did last night on the Unscripted channel to see how it turned out. But either way, I do want to get back to where I'm using the condensers, so there's minor stuff like that I'll need to amend, but now that that's all seen to, it should allow me, well, a little bit more flexibility on when I record and, well, along with what exactly I can do as far as potentially a webcam. Because I was thinking of doing something involving that for the Unscripted channel at some point, though the result of that probably won't show itself until next year. And once that this place is looking good, this is the one room I wanted to sort out because I did not want to move the heavy desk that I use for my computer before, well, at any point after moving in, because it was just a chore to get this thing in, let alone anything else. So Definitely don't. That is something that you only want to experience once. Let me put it that way. Or, yeah, you only want to move this desk once. It is a nice desk, but it is solid hardwood and all one piece. Okay, they're moving crap. Okay, where's the button? There it is. That was a bad shot. Bad place to do it. Alright, slowly draw them away. There we go. Alright. I keep hitting 5 instead of 4 for some reason. Alright, so draw this one out. Slow them down. Alright, they're teleporting, so slowing down only does so much. Oh, there's 2 of them. That's why I'm seeing Swift and teleporting. Thought that would seem weird. Also explained the damage. Alright. There we go. Alright, let's level up real quick. Yeah, that'll be fine. I'm trying to remember the cadence I was doing these at. Shows you how often I play this game nowadays. I really should... Well, to be fair, I've got other podcast games that I need to see to as well, but more on that in a moment. So with that, I should have a little bit more flexibility to record, so I should be able to get videos out at a better clip. And hopefully that means I'll be able to at least hold to once every 2 months for the rest of this year, especially at the current cadence we're looking at. So, to that end, what exactly can you expect to see this year? Well, first and foremost, there will be a video, as per usual, immediately after this stream is over. I'm not going to say what it is, I'll just hype it up a little bit after, well, after I've concluded everything I wish to say. I'll just hype that up. So, apart from that, let me think, what else needs to be mentioned? Let's see, so that's immediately after this video. And then in August, I'm hoping to have the Baldur's Gate 2 retrospective ready. I had done a poll in the community tab a while back saying, hey, what would you prefer to see of these 3 options as we anticipate the release of Baldur's Gate 3? And, well, Baldur's Gate 2 naturally won. I think I put Dragon Age Origins, Neverwinter Nights, and Baldur's Gate 2 in there, and of course Baldur's Gate 2 won, of course. But I just wanted to be sure, because the other 2 I could do as videos for Through the Looking Glass, and the Baldur's Gate 2 video is technically an older game, but since I've played it before, it would be more of a retrospective, and is going to be one. So, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But I have parts of the script written for the Baldur's Gate 2 video. I'm thinking this week I'll probably spend a decent amount of time just blazing back through what's left of my current playthrough, making sure that I've got the right idea for the script, and then recording will begin, well, probably this Saturday. And then my plan is to have that before the release of Baldur's Gate 3, which will be literally the end of August, so I'll be shooting for the Saturday before, or maybe the Sunday before, either way. And, oh, shoot, I don't want to be here. Let's get away. Back off. Alright. Alright, we're good now. Now that I'm properly kiting them. Yeah, backflip into that. Alright, cool. Alright, I think I'm safe now. Well, safe is in relative terms anyway. So, back on topic. That is the plan for August. Hopefully I'll be able to maintain that. I don't see why not, since that I'm not going to have to worry about moving while also seeing to that. Moving and trying to get the video for today done all at once, that was taxing. That was a lot to try and deal with, and that's a lot of enemies. Okay, good thing I had those flame pillars. Looks like I'm going to need them again. Or maybe not. Excellent. So with that in mind, as for what I have planned for, let's see, what would it be? October? I do have 2 games in mind. I'm not going to say the names of either of them to avoid hyping things up too much, but they are 2 games that are very different in style. One is an alternate history, settings / sci-fi, where it is one of the most unique games I've ever played, actually, and the video on it would be a retrospective. It is a hybrid RTS / first-person tank combat. if you know what it is based on that description, congratulations. You have something to look forward to eventually. The other one would be a candidate for Through the Looking Glass. And it is I think character action is probably the best way to put it. I think that's the term that's used for games like that. So I'll have to remind myself of that before too long, but that is the thinking for that one. I'm probably going to lean to the character action game, depending on how long it takes for me to get through it over the next few weeks. Because I am going to be focused more on Baldur's Gate 2 for now, so it'll be contingent on either a streaming schedule cooperating with me or something to that effect. But we'll see how it works out. However it ends up working out, though, regardless of which one it ends up being, I should have something ready to go for that. And then, apart from that, I'm hoping... Okay, I really shouldn't say this, but I'm hoping to have the Pillars of Eternity video ready in time for the end of the year. I don't expect it, because honestly, with how much needs to be done, I suspect, and now that I have a better understanding of what exactly I'm getting into, I suspect that there's going to be all sorts of difficulty making that actually happen. But if I don't, I've already got a Diablo-style game in mind that could slot in neatly. And that will probably end up being my podcast game. Now, especially since I'm putting Engage on the back burner, and especially since I'll have plenty of other stuff to worry about over the course of this week as well. So, well, not just this week, but this year. But we'll see how it turns out. That'll probably end up being my podcast game. So, yeah. I think that covers pretty much everything that needs to be said then. So, wow, this ended up being a shorter live stream than I expected. So is there anything I missed in that? I guess the only other thing left to talk about is the status of, well, of when you can maybe expect the Baldur's Gate 3 video, because given that what I'm doing special for Pillars of Eternity is going to be referring more specifically to CRPGs, Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be a long ways away, even after it releases. I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to be sure that I take all the time in the universe to make sure that I've got a good handle on it. So, with that in mind, my plan there is that in order to prevent it from just dominating my life and further throwing off the schedule, well, what schedule there is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sequester it to Sunday morning streams over on the Unscripted channel. Now that I've got my own place and don't have to worry about being, well, and now that I can be as loud as I want on a Sunday morning, more to the point, now that I don't have a roommate, my thinking there is that I'll just sequester it to Sunday morning streams so I can offer a chill morning for the Unscripted channel, and I can sequester Baldur's Gate 3 there to where if it ends up being just as insanely addicting as 2 was for me back in my college days, well, I'll be able to properly sequester it. And it won't end up being that domineering. That is the hope anyway, although time will tell as to whether it ends up working out that way. But either way, I think that pretty much covers it. So, yeah, that pretty much covers everything important. So we'll go ahead and finish off these guys and then call it a night. Well, call it a day, I suppose. Still early in the day. At least where I am living. So, with that in mind, here's a quick TLDR. So, first of all, once again, I apologize for the fact that there hasn't been much posted. The short version for that is that I ended up prioritizing things that ended up all becoming more long-term projects than I expected. And as a result of that, I found myself in a situation where I put a lot of work in to that, and then find out when April rolls around, oh crap, I'm not going to have anything ready for another couple months because something just released that I really want to talk about. And then we've also got, well, plenty to worry about as far as what I had actually committed to. So all 3 of those are going to be effectively treated as long-term projects. Pillars of Eternity will remain the priority in terms of that. And apart from that, Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes will be the secondary, and then Fire Emblem Engage immediately after. As for the immediate schedule, there will be a video immediately after this, as per usual. And then Baldur's Gate 2 will have a retrospective on it on this channel at the end of August before the release of the 3rd game. And then, apart from that, I've got a couple ideas in mind to ensure that I can put out a video once every couple of months to at least get some rhythm back. And hopefully we'll have hopefully there won't be any more repeats where I'll start the year with barely anything and then end the year with everything. So hopefully we can avoid this trend going forward. But then again, I make it a habit to not plan more than 6 months ahead, and usually not even more than 2 months, honestly, but because things always change, and that's why I haven't given names for the ideas I have for the rest of the year outside of Baldur's Gate 2. So either way, that'll be all from me. That's all that needs to be said. So, looking ahead then, what exactly have I got for you now that everything is done and dusted? Well, back in 2001, there was a turn-based strategy game released by Nintendo. And it was a testing ground, effectively, to see whether or not Fire Emblem would do well in the Western market, as the game that they released instead was a lot easier to localize, having a much simpler story. And it ended up being a success. People really latched onto it. Fire Emblem ended up doing quite well for itself by the end of it, even if there were substantial rough patches to where Awakening may have been theoretically the last one in the franchise had it not done well. But as a result, well, the other franchise ended up being left in the dust, because it had never, yes, even if it did well in the West, it never sold that well in Japan, because honestly, it ended up being cursed with whenever it tried to release a new entry. So, because of that, it seemed like it was abandoned, but then a remaster for the first 2 games were announced. And then, well, a couple others ended up, and then it ended up delayed again, and only just released in April. So, for your viewing pleasure on this channel, going public right now is a retrospective on the remaster for Advance Wars 1 and 2. It's about damn time they showed back up, and I am very much looking forward to the result. Oh man, it turned out so good. Oh man, it's got its blind spots, but you know what? It is so good to see again. Those games were my childhood at one point, because we just played the heck out of those 2. My brother and I both, because I don't know where my GBAs... Actually, wait, my GBAs are actually right there. That is one of the few things on my bookshelf right now since moving. But, yeah, it's back, and it's good to see it back. So, yeah, that video just went public right now, so feel free to check that out, and that'll be all. Oh, hey, Twan. Sorry for being late. Well, that's okay. Oh, crap, I didn't post this to Discord, did I? I have a Discord, check that out too. But yeah, hi Dwan, sorry, I was actually wrapping up, so. Funny how this always happens. Maybe I should just release these as rambles and post down a more, put up an edited down version so you don't have to worry about being live. Ah well, it'll balance out eventually, but I suppose time will tell in that respect. Either way, although I suppose I don't have anything I need to worry about for the next hour and a half. I could go onto the Unscripted channel and stream one of the games I had in mind for October. Maybe I'll go do that, actually. Bring back the Sunday morning stream a little earlier, well, perhaps. Although, we'll see. Either way, that'll be all from me. As a TLDR again, slow start to the year, plenty on the way, and hopefully it ends up being engaging long term, so thank you all for sticking around, thank you all for being patient with me, and I hope your day is as good as mine has been so far.